Just a slight interruption there really quick. The consequences of doing things like this in a public place. But yeah, understanding those theories and understanding what it takes to understand those theories has benefited me a lot in just thinking about how I think about things. And so understanding that cultural theory or cultural studies is concerned with the commonality of culture and looking at class and looking at the way that people interact with each other and communicate with each other, and how those things are encoded, decoded. Understanding that critical race theory is concerned with the way that racism is still up and running today. It's still evident in systems and in the ways that people view each other. Understanding that feminist theory is influenced by critical race theory, influenced by cultural studies, and seeing how those same ideas apply to how women are portrayed or how systems are portrayed and how gender is looked at. And then even further into that sort of line of thinking, you get queer theory and how this was really shocking to me too, that it's not just about gender, it's not just about people's race too, it's about how systems are working to either perpetuate or to resist certain things. So and then also post-colonial theory, looking at how people take over things and how those systems are seen as either dominant or minority, and all of those things. Even the fact that I'm able to say a little bit about those, there's so much that I still don't know, has been really helpful in thinking about these more difficult texts and thinking about how I can take those things into my everyday life too, which has been a challenge to kind of look at. So all of that was not easy. Like it was difficult to read the theory text. It was difficult to then talk about those things without having really any place to assert from at the time. I think that I now have more of a voice and more of an ability to say what I think about a theory or say something from a theory perspective. But it was not easy, as few things worth learning are. But I'm glad that I was able to kind of start learning those things. And I remember in the middle of learning those texts, of preparing for my cultural studies leading the class, and reading those other texts, I just remember feeling insecure about making my own thoughts about things and only wanting to take from the text. And I just remember thinking that this capstone is hard enough as it is. And then I got sick and my volleyball coach resigned, and it went from being, oh, this is a tricky semester because I'm learning hard things, to now I'm learning hard things in the middle of hard situations. And those things were temporary. Obviously, I have a coach now. I have allergies, but am not sick. And I think learning those things at the same time, of going through tough academic texts, of trying to figure out what my presentation or what my topic was going to be, trying to figure out the process of how to think about all these things, grew me significantly. And I think what's going to stick with me from this capstone project is that I am not just an English major. I'm not just a professional writing and rhetoric major. I'm also studying comm. I'm also studying Spanish. I'm also an athlete. I'm also a Christian. I also have all of these different elements in me that not only help me figure out what I like and what I like to study, but also what I have to offer as a scholar, like what I bring to the table. And so I now know that rhetoric is fascinating and important to me, and I bring that into other ideas. Like I was leading a Bible study the other day and talked about Peter's positionality as being important to the way he was preaching, and people were kind of giving me crazy looks. But those things are in my mind, or thinking about how I'll joke around and talk about the hegemonic systems of oppression with my friends, but those things are also on my mind on a regular basis because of these classes. They're giving me a way to think about things. And I think this education has proven to give me to be more than just quotes that I can pull from or people that I can list off and understand where they're coming from, or even proving myself as an academic. It's more than that. It's the way that I think about things, and that's what this class has prepared me with. It's put me in a lot of tough situations on how to think about things and how to write about things and how to go from what's in my head to what needs to be on paper or in a presentation. And yeah, so I think looking at post-grad, it's not the clearest for me right now. And truthfully, my near future in Ecuador has been taking up a lot of my attention right now, and just preparing for that. And I'm actually about to talk to a prospective boss in a little bit today. So I'll know more about that in a little bit. But what I do know is that going into a job, I'm going to take these things, not just the quotes and not just the word for word things that I'm taking out of this class, but the ways of thinking, the ways of processing things, the ways of communicating and looking at things from different perspectives is absolutely what I'm going to take with me. And I think another thing, just going back to the beginning of what I was frustrated about at the beginning of the semester, being a junior, not having this entire degree behind me and looking back on that, but I am still in college. I still have 1 year left. So I'm holding it with open hands. I'm holding my future with open hands because there's still so much for me to learn. If this is what I learned in one semester, who knows where I'll be next year. And I think there's a lot of space for me to take this capstone presentation and not just apply it to the future of post-college, of what my job's gonna look like, of what my life's gonna look like, but look at my next year of college and say, okay, I'm going to be a confident professional writer and reader in my last year of college. And I think that that is really special. So I do want to thank you for all of the investment that you have invested in me as a student, the ways that you have called me out on my procrastination, the ways that you have told me where I'm at and where I need to be, and given me the tools to do that, not just telling me how to do it and not just giving me how to do it, but saying, okay, now go read this book or look through this book for a source and go ask other people about this and just write. And so I feel like I've learned a lot, and yeah, I'm really grateful to have had this opportunity at this time. Yeah, so that's about it, and I will see you next semester.